And we're live. And welcome everybody to another episode of Formers Friday here on Pop Culture Network. And here's the man of the plan who is truly, ladies and gentlemen, it is Dirt. Thank you, Mr. Announcer Guy, and welcome back to the show, everybody. We have a new episode of Formers Friday for you here today, and today we're taking a look at Fortress Maximus. You know, this guy, the Titans Return guy, the guy that apparently a lot of people hate. Oh, what's up with that? I've been looking around online, and it turns out there's quite a few people that don't like this guy, and I don't know why, but we'll talk a little bit today. Today we're going to be taking a look at it. We're not going to do a full in-depth review. I'm not going to sit here and transform it into every different way and talk about the different transformations and whatever. I really don't see the need to do that. One, there are lots of videos out there that show that. But two, I want to discuss some things that are not necessarily part of that review type conversation with it. Like I said, I looked around online and found people that for some reason look at this thing and just hate it. And I have a hard time understanding why. But there are some criticisms of it that I think are fair and some things that I kind of want to talk about. So we are going to take a look at this big feller here. And one thing you'll notice taking a look at him is that he looks very similar to what we got with the Metroplex figure a little while back. And yes, indeed, it is true. One of the criticisms is that they basically reused Metroplex. They just realigned some pieces, recolored some pieces, and added some bits to it in order to make it a different figure. And, you know, if you guys know me, you know that I am not against redeco. In fact, a lot of times I like getting the same version of a figure just with the different redecos that make them different characters. It's just part of the Transformer experience, and I just like the idea of that. Saying it's almost like a parallel universe, alternate reality version of a character. But when it comes to a figure like this, you realize that the only way it's going to get made is if they reuse the parts. And I know that bothers a lot of people because especially you're going to drop 150 bones on a figure like this. You would think that it should be all new. But here's my thing on it. I don't look at this as a redecoed Metroplex. I actually look at this as an upgraded Metroplex because I think in many ways this is a much superior figure. And because it's such a better figure, I'm actually a lot more willing to accept it as a standalone toy, even though it is built on that other fella. So, one of the main things that I'm sure will jump out at people first when they look at it is, of course, the legs and the arms stand out as being basically the same. The big difference is that they added these guns here. Where on Metroplex it was covered and had some guns on the side. Here they just put them on top, and there you go. And I guess, I don't know, I like the look of these a little bit better, I think. First of all, the overall color scheme I like better than Metroplex. Metroplex is very white, and I've got one sitting over here on the shelf, and I should have brought it over, but I've been moving stuff around. There's a whole bunch of garbage in the way, so I can't really get to it where it is up on the shelf. So I can look at it, and you guys can Google it if you really want to, take a look at what it was like. But I like the color scheme on this, the red, gray, and blue, kind of an off-patriotic look to it for those of us here in the States. But the main thing that I really like about the look of this figure is right in here in the midsection. They added some pieces here. When Metroplex turns into his, battle mode, whatever, he's more flat. And what they've done here with Fortress Maximus is that these pieces flip out and come together to make kind of the control module, I guess you would call it. And so these pieces have to flip out of the way in robot mode, and it makes his midsection wider. And if you go back and look at Metroplex, you can see that he has this skinny little midsection down in here. Adding these pieces and widening that, to me, just makes a much better looking robot. That's the one thing that I never really liked about Metroplex is that skinny little midsection that he has. When it comes down to the hips, he's got these weird, like, bony hips sticking out in this tiny little midsection. And here it's a lot bigger. He looks much more like a big fighting robot warrior, which is the type of thing that we want to go for on these. The other thing that I really like is, of course, there's the glowing eyes when he talks. Woo, glowing eyes. Yeah. That's a neat effect. I really like that effect a lot. I think that adds a lot of neat interactivity to it. Not only the sounds, but the glowing eyes. Like if I was an 8-year-old kid and I got something like this on Christmas and the eyes were glowing up like that, I'd be absolutely freaking out. So I think that is really cool. But also the fact that this thing is a headmaster, just like the classic one. And the fact that this little guy folds out, and we find that, in fact, for this robot, he himself has a little headmaster head as well that also becomes a tiny little robot. So the fact that we've got these, layer on layer on layer type interactivity going on, which we got before, in the original one, don't get me wrong, but the fact that they were able to redo that, I really enjoyed. This is just so much fun to pop it apart. I've only had this thing for a short while, and I've done this thing like a million times of just interacting with it, transforming it. And this robot mode, for this particular guy, he's a good looking robot. I mean, the fact that he's the head for this giant guy, he should be just kind of a generic throwaway guy, but I think he looks really good. And obviously, because of the electronics in here, there's a little bit more going on, and you have the bulk of the head, back here that, he ends up with this big bulky backpack-looking thing. But overall, though, I really like the design of it. I like the way that they added jets down here, so it's like a rocket pack thing that he's wearing. And just this robot overall just looks like a good little guy. Now, one thing you'll notice, if you look at him, is he Autobot or Decepticon? Yeah, it doesn't show, does it? No, because it's on a sticker, on a big sheet of stickers, and you have to take the stickers and put them on here and put them all over here. And in fact, if you take a close look at him, you'll see that he does not have a lot of those stickers on. And he's not going to have a lot of those stickers on. I know there are websites out there, repo labels and places like that, that really make a killing off of aftermarket stickers and labels and throwing them on there, but that is not for me. I put his Autobot symbol on here. I put a couple of the bigger ones that just kind of stand out in the middle, but that was it. I sat down with Metroplex when he came out, and with a pair of tweezers and a toothpick, and tried to align those labels and tried to get everything on there, perfect. And it was just such a pain in the butt to put those on. Now, I remember being a kid. I remember having to do all those stickers and labels when I was little. And I remember everything, Transformers, G.I. Joe vehicles, everything came with a sheet of stickers that you had to put on yourself. And I get that, except most of the time you were slapping on an Autobot logo, maybe putting some racing stripes down the side. You were putting like the battery compartment label on the side of Soundwave, and that was about it. On a guy like this, I'll put a big sticker like the Autobot symbol, but there are stickers for like stuff on the arm panels, stuff on the legs, where it's these tiny little like 0.5 millimeter slices that you got to peel off and layer on just right. F those labels. Do you hear me? You can print that on a t-shirt, F those labels, with my face on it, and sell it for $5 at the swap meet, and I won't even charge you overhead as long as the word gets out and somehow gets back to the people in charge. F those labels. The nice big ones that can easily fit in there, fine. But some of these, they go in these tiny little recessed areas on here. And so if they're not lined up correctly, they rub against the edge and they kind of fold over. And it's just, it drives me nuts. I would much rather, if I'm going to go through that kind of trouble, where I've got tweezers and a toothpick, and I'm trying to line the things up and hold it down just right and smooth it out, get out the air bubbles and whatever, I might as well just grab a paintbrush. And I'm going to have a much easier time myself just going in and going, shoop, 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 and adding the little drops of paint and forgetting about it and not worrying about it. Because, seriously, F those labels. Now, he does transform. And like I said, I'm not going to go into all of the transformations. But his transformations, they are a little wonky sometimes. And I had the same problem with Metroplex that I have with Fortress Maximus. With the way he transforms, it doesn't always look great. When he goes into, his city mode, his battle mode, whatever you want to call it, either one of those transformations, neither one looks that fantastic. And, I said I had the same problem with Metroplex. To me, it's less of a problem with Fortress Maximus. Now, you may be thinking, oh, that's a little hypocritical, don't you think? Because if you have the problem with the one, then you should have the problem with the other. Well, hip this vibe for 1 second, if you will. Because of the way he's constructed, by having these little pieces that can flip around and become that control unit, when you piece him together in order to make that configuration of the battle city or whatever, some of the way these pieces open, like for instance these legs can fold open and become bigger panels. Some of these things in the arm can open up to make these little like hidden compartments in there. You have these little bridge flap pieces for like your blaster and your Optimus Prime that came out where they can connect and make it look like it's one big piece coming together. And the fact that you've got these different ways that it opens and moves allows you to reconfigure it, I think, better when you're making the battle mode. So like, for instance, having this control tower there gives it a central point of focus, and then you can manipulate the legs and fold them out and line them up behind it, so it has more of that wall shape to it that I think makes it a much better looking piece when you transform it. Now, I'm going to keep it as the robot transformed. I mean, it displays as a big giant robot. If you see it and it looks like this little battle city with the guys crawling on it, that's kind of cool too. I do have a lot of these, little headmaster guys. I found the new ones were Pug Shuffler, and we'll probably open those, take a look at those next week. And so, you can set it up as the city, have the little things crawling on it. It looks pretty cool. But honestly, on display as the robot is the main way to go on this thing. And this looks good. And even though it's reusing some of the Metroplex parts, I think it does a really good job of evoking the look of Fortress Maximus, especially with these translucent blue panel areas. If I can open this up, and of course I don't have like fingernail or anything, this little gun piece, actually comes off. And he's got this little gun thing on his leg, this little like pod ship thing, and you can take the gun thing and put it on there, and boom, you got an extra super vehicle. Check that out. Woo! Extra. And not only that, but I can see right here on the back there's a spot where it pegs into something somewhere. And I'm not sure what, and I'm not sure where, because of course the instructions that come in the US version of these is always pathetically short. Doesn't have a lot of details. You have to go online and read through message boards to try to find, every weird way that you can reconfigure and move things. Apparently you can take these guns off the leg and put them in his hands. So he's holding guns while he's, in his giant robot mode. None of that stuff is ever in the manual, and it drives me crazy. But the fact that you can play with it, and pull the stuff out and reconfigure it in a way. This looks like Fortress Maximus, and you've got these weird extra thingies that you can do with it that just, to me, opens up so many more possibilities. Now, Metroplex, you could do that with to a degree, but it felt more restrictive. And I don't know if it's because the way they repurposed the midsection. The midsection on that one, I think, was much more connected through here or something. I don't know. But it just didn't work right. It was much more difficult to try to manipulate it around in a different way. Whereas I think on this one, just the way that the things fold out, the way things are added on, the extra ramp that's in the back here that I can actually pull off here and show you. The extra ramp that was on the back when he's in his different battle mode, whatever, you've got more stuff that you can put on there. And with a lot of the figures in Titans Return, they have pieces that some of the headmaster things can turn into weapons, turn into guns, turn into little tanks and stuff. So you can also, attach those on there because they have a little peg where they can go into the hand of a Titans Return character, but you could also take them and attach them to a character like this, and it just works out well. So for me, if you were in a situation where you could get Metroplex or Fortress Maximus, it was going to cost you the same price. You're buying them off a collector, you were at a show or whatever, I would get Fortress Maximus and I would skip Metroplex. Now, obviously, if you can buy both, because a baller is going to ball and you got to have all your toys and able to do that. But I just think that this one is so much better, so much more impressive than what we got with Metroplex. I love the look, the colors. I love the interactivity. I love the way it makes noise. I love if you're going to pop the head off, you press this button in the middle and it makes it, come loose very easily. There are just so many things. Now, you always get the weird stuff like these little panels back here, a lot of Optimus Primes and whatnot lately. I've had these weird arm panels. You have some of the characters like Bumblebee when you transform them, or Wheeljack, where part of the windshield is like attached to the forearm. And, so that is not entirely out of line with modern Transformers. It does look a little goofy overall. I will grant you that. But generally speaking, I think this guy just looks fantastic. He acts fantastic. And there's a lot of interactivity that I really enjoy. So, like I said, not a full-on review, but I wanted to discuss some of the things because I know people have had a problem with the fact that he's a rebuilt, reused Metroplex. But like I said, I think of him as upgraded. I think he's so much better than Metroplex. But man, F those stickers. I mean, seriously, just come on, Hasbro, just stop. Have mercy on some of us. We're getting old. Our hands are shaky. It's much harder to get them to stick and whatever. But anyway, guys, that's going to do it for Formers Friday today. Don't forget to check out thatnewtoysmell.com, part of the Pop Culture Network. Check out more toy coverage. You can also go to ineedcomics.com, which is part of the Pop Culture Network, in order to see just the comic stuff, or go to popculturenetwork.com to see all the great stuff that we're doing there. That's going to do it for me, guys. If you want to send me an email, dirt@popculturenetwork.com, or Twitter @PCN_dirt, or I am actually on Instagram as Graham Comic Reviews, and I do comic reviews there that also end up on YouTube and on the website later on throughout the day on Tuesdays when the new comics arrive for us. So that's going to do it for me, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.